I've been a truck driver for 15 years. Not glamorous, but it's honest, steady work, and it's how I built everything I have. I started with one old rig, slept in the cab more times than I can count, ate cold gas station burritos for dinner just to save money. Eventually, I saved enough to buy 2 more trucks, then hired my cousin and a buddy to run routes under my LLC. Paid off our modest house just outside Tulsa, set up a decent retirement account, kept my credit clean. I thought I was building a future for both of us. My wife, Riley, and I met in our early 20s. She was sweet, funny, the kind of woman who used to surprise me at truck stops with homemade cookies and Tupperware. Back then, she didn't care that I smelled like diesel and sweat. She used to brag to her friends that I was the hardest working man in Oklahoma. We weren't rich, but we had each other. At least, I thought we did. That started changing about a year ago when her sister Celeste moved in. Celeste had just gone through a brutal divorce. Her husband, Darren, apparently emotionally abused her by asking to see receipts after she blew through $5,000 in one weekend. At least, that's the version she told everyone. She came to stay for a few weeks to get back on her feet. It turned into months. She was older than Riley by 8 years, always had a chip on her shoulder, and talked like every man she met owed her something. From day one, she rubbed me the wrong way. She never offered to help around the house. Left dishes in the sink, laundry on the couch, left passive-aggressive Post-its on the fridge like, "We're out of almond milk again." She'd sit around in leggings and oversized sweatshirts, scrolling her phone, sighing dramatically. She'd make little comments like, "Must be nice having a man who controls the money." Or, "Riley, don't you ever wonder what you'd do if you had your own thing?" At first, I ignored it. Figured she was just bitter. But Riley started changing. She used to ask me about my routes, about how the guys were doing, what I needed her to grab from the store. Slowly, she stopped asking. She started talking more like Celeste. Words like emotional labor and financial gatekeeping started coming out of her mouth, which, I'll be honest, didn't even sound like her. One night, I got back from a 3-day run, and she didn't hug me. Just looked up from her phone and said, "You really should set up auto pay on the mortgage. It's not healthy for one partner to control all the accounts." That was the first time I felt it. A gut-deep shift. Like something had snapped behind her eyes. Still, I didn't want to believe anything was really wrong. I told myself, she's stressed. Her sister's been in her ear. It'll pass. I made more effort, took her to her favorite barbecue joint, bought her flowers for no reason, even sat through one of those preachy Netflix documentaries about late-stage capitalism just to connect with her. But she kept drifting, and Celeste kept needling. I caught them whispering one night when I came in early from a run. They didn't hear the truck pull up. I was walking up the stairs when I heard Celeste say, "You just need to be smart about it. Women get screwed when they play nice. Get what you're owed." Riley said something I couldn't make out. Then Celeste again, "You've supported him long enough. You deserve half minimum. More, if you're strategic." My stomach dropped. I stood frozen, just outside the bedroom door. That was the night I realized my marriage wasn't just strained, it was under siege. After that night, I couldn't sleep right. I kept playing their words over in my head like a bad radio loop. You deserve half. Be strategic. The worst part was, Riley didn't even sound unsure. She wasn't resisting. She was listening, nodding, absorbing it all like gospel from her bitter older sister. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to know more. So I started watching. She stopped wearing her wedding ring. Said it was too tight. She started locking her phone, changed all her passwords, and shut her laptop every time I walked by. Her smiles became thinner, more performative. We weren't fighting, but we weren't living either. We were roommates passing in the hallway. Celeste, meanwhile, made herself more comfortable than ever. She took over the guest room like a queen claiming a throne. Bought candles with names like Feminine Rage and No Man's Land. Left books around the house with titles like The Case for Divorce, Reclaiming Your Autonomy, and Don't Be Nice, Be Free. I'm not kidding. She even started using Riley's name on things that weren't hers: mail, Amazon packages, even a Home Depot delivery address to Riley Monroe, property owner. I started noticing subtle changes in the bank account. Riley never cared about the business finances before, but now she was asking weird questions. "Do you have a backup of your QuickBooks? What's the name of the guy who set up your LLC again? Shouldn't both our names be on the truck titles?" I kept calm. Every time she poked, I smiled like nothing was wrong. But I started moving in silence. First thing I did was print out every business document I had: licenses, tax returns, truck titles, employee contracts, and stashed hard copies at my dad's house 20 miles away. I updated the pins on all the company credit cards, made sure all payroll was running clean. I even changed the Wi-Fi password. I didn't say a word. Then came the day she accidentally left her phone open on the kitchen counter while she showered. Normally, I wouldn't touch it. But this time, instinct overrode manners. She'd been texting Celeste. A long, ugly thread. Celeste, he'll never see it coming. Riley, are you sure this is legal? Celeste, girl. The courts are on your side. You've supported him emotionally for years. That's worth half, easily. Riley, he's got everything in his name. Celeste, that's good. Means he looks controlling. Trust me, judges hate that. Riley, I just don't want to be stuck starting over. Celeste, you won't. We go for the house, the trucks, the accounts. He walks away with a toothbrush. I took a screenshot. Then I took the next day off work and drove straight to my dad's. He's a retired accountant. He used to run a farm co-op and knows more about asset protection than most lawyers. When I told him what was happening, he didn't react with shock or drama. Just got up, poured us both coffee, and said, "We need to move everything yesterday." By the end of the week, I had a meeting with a family lawyer my dad trusted. We set up a revocable trust for the business, moved the house title into the trust, and added my father as a temporary managing trustee for legal cover. We drew up a new operating agreement, took my name off certain documents, and locked everything down airtight. If she tried to come for the business, she'd be suing a trust. And the house? No longer my asset on paper. Not anymore. I was quiet, polite, even brought home dinner twice that week. I wanted her to feel safe, lulled. But inside, I was coiled like a loaded spring. Riley had no clue. Celeste kept whispering. Riley kept listening. But me? I was about to flip the script. A week later, I got the confirmation email from the lawyer. All the paperwork had gone through. The trust was live. The house title had been transferred. The business, on paper, no longer belonged to me, but to an entity overseen by a managing trustee, my father. To anyone looking in from the outside, it looked like I'd stepped away. I felt like I could breathe for the first time in weeks. But I knew I couldn't relax just yet. Riley was getting bolder, more careless. That night, she came home late with Celeste. I was in the garage, working on one of the trucks. The back door was cracked open just enough to hear them in the kitchen. "I'm serious, Riley," Celeste said, her voice sharper than usual. "Don't wait too long. File first or he'll lock things up." "He wouldn't," Riley said. But she didn't sound sure. Celeste laughed. "Men always act sweet until money's on the table. Trust me." Darren cried in court and still tried to screw me out of my car. "You can't give them a head start." There was a pause. Then Riley whispered something I couldn't make out. "Celeste again, you've been supporting him emotionally for years. You put up with him gone all the time, right? That's labor. You're entitled to compensation. This isn't petty, it's justice." That word, entitled, landed like a slap. Riley was never like this before Celeste moved in. She used to take pride in our home, our little life. Now, she sounded like a stranger in my house. A stranger coached by someone who'd turned divorce into a blood sport. I stepped back into the garage quietly and started rehearsing what I'd say when it was time. But the kicker came 3 days later. Riley was at work. Celeste had gone to a women's empowerment brunch, whatever that means. I was home organizing receipts for taxes when I got a ping, an alert from a credit monitoring app I'd set up months ago. Someone had tried to open a new business credit card in my company's name. I stared at the email, then picked up the phone and called the bank. Sure enough, the application had come in under Monroe Logistics, my LLC. The applicant name? Riley Monroe. I almost laughed. She really thought she could forge her way in. I canceled the application, flagged the attempt, and filed a fraud report just in case. But now, it wasn't just scheming, it was action. That meant the clock was ticking. So I made my final moves. I withdrew half the money from our joint savings and moved it into a new solo account under my name only. I had the lawyer draft a full divorce packet, my version. Fair on paper, but bare bones. No spousal support, no business claim, no share of assets. Just clean exit terms and a buyout offer of a few $1,000s as a goodwill gesture. Then I sat back and waited. It didn't take long. A week later, I came home from a short-haul run and saw Celeste's car in the driveway. Something in the air felt rehearsed, like a bad play waiting for its cue. I walked into the living room. Riley was sitting on the couch with a folder in her lap. Celeste stood behind her like some smug stage mom. Can we talk? Riley said. I nodded and sat across from them. Riley cleared her throat. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I believe we've grown apart. This marriage no longer serves me, and I think it's healthiest if we separate. Celeste actually smiled. I wanted to put my fist through it. Riley pushed the folder toward me. I've already spoken to a lawyer. These are the terms I'm proposing. I opened it. It was laughable. She wanted the house, half the business, and a monthly support payment. There was even a line about emotional reparations. I closed it slowly. Are you finished? I asked. She nodded. I stood up, went to the hallway cabinet, pulled out the packet my lawyer had prepared, and laid it on the coffee table. What's this? Riley asked. My version, I said. But before you read it, you should know you won't be getting the house, or the business, or a dime more than what I'm offering. Because everything you thought you were going to take, it's already gone. Celeste's eyes narrowed. You can't just. I can. And I did. The house is owned by a trust. The business too. You're not entitled to assets I no longer own. Riley's mouth opened, but no words came out. You tried to forge a credit application, I added, turning to her. I have the email. I have the report. You really think that'll play well in court? The silence was delicious. I looked at Celeste. You coached her to come for my throat. Problem is, I already had armor on. Then I walked out. Let them stew in it. And the best part? I wasn't even close to done. The house was dead quiet for the next 2 days. Celeste stopped, leaving her coffee mugs all over the counter. Riley barely spoke above a whisper. It was like I'd detonated a bomb, and they were walking through the dust cloud, stunned it hadn't gone their way. I didn't gloat. I didn't yell. I made breakfast like usual, fed the dog, answered work calls, and kept to my routines. That made it worse for them, I think. The fact that I didn't come unglued. I just calmly, legally, beat them at their own game. On the third morning, I found Riley sitting in the kitchen, red-eyed and hollow. She looked more like the woman I married than she had in months. She said, so that's it. I shrugged. Up to you. My offer's still on the table. You take the buyout. We split clean. No lawyers, no war. You walk away with a check and a fresh start. She didn't answer. Later that night, I caught Celeste whispering to her in the hallway again, urgent this time. You can't accept that. It's insulting. He's bluffing, Riley. We can still fight it. But Riley didn't look convinced anymore. Her eyes met mine just once, and she looked away like a kid caught stealing. I was playing chess. She'd been playing checkers. The next day, I went to my lawyer and set the official wheels in motion. We served her formally, divorce notice with my proposed terms, all by the book. No surprises this time. I made sure the delivery happened while she was out shopping with Celeste, because I wanted both of them to see it hit like a brick. Apparently, Celeste lost her mind in the parking lot. I didn't witness it myself, but Riley's cousin, who works at the same department store, later told me she saw Celeste screaming in the parking lot, waving papers, red in the face, while Riley just stood there like a ghost. Something about, you weak little idiot. He's walking all over you. That was when the cracks started showing. Celeste didn't like losing control, and she really didn't like Riley not obeying her every word. Within days, I noticed her staying out later, coming home drunk, blasting angsty music like she was 20 again. The two of them started snapping at each other like bickering roommates. One night, I came home from a run to find Riley crying alone in the living room. Celeste had apparently stormed out after an argument. Riley tried to cover it, but I didn't care anymore. She wasn't my problem now. I went to bed. The next week, Riley quietly accepted my offer. No court battle. No public drama. Just a signature and a check. She packed up most of her things in silence. I gave her a deadline and a moving truck. She didn't argue, just mumbled something about needing space to figure herself out. Celeste didn't help her pack. Didn't even come home that weekend. A few days after Riley left, I got a message from one of Celeste's old friends, someone I hadn't seen in years, but who clearly wanted to stir the pot. The message read, "Hope Riley's doing okay. Crazy that Celeste is back with Darren now, huh?" I blinked. Darren, the man she claimed emotionally abused her, the one she said was toxic and controlling, the one she used as Exhibit A in her man-hating rants? Apparently, they'd been quietly seeing each other again for weeks. Riley didn't know. Not yet. I wasn't planning to say a word, but fate handled that for me. The next Saturday, I stopped by a local breakfast spot where truckers like me grab coffee and eggs. Guess who was sitting in a corner booth, laughing, all cozy and flirty? Celeste. And Darren. I didn't cause a scene. I just snapped a picture and left. A few hours later, I sent the photo anonymously to Riley's email. No words. No caption. Just the image of her sister, the woman who poisoned her marriage, snuggled up with the ex she claimed ruined her life. I didn't expect a reply. But that night, I got a one-line text from Riley. You were right. I'm so sorry. I stared at it for a long time. Didn't reply. She could be sorry all she wanted. But by then, I'd already let her go. Celeste didn't come back to the house after that weekend. She left behind 2 trash bags worth of clothes, a chipped mug that said "Boss Babe," and her entire personal soapbox. I dumped it all at the curb. Riley, meanwhile, moved back in with her parents. I heard about it through my cousin, who saw her at the local Walmart, wearing sweatpants and no makeup, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Apparently, her parents weren't thrilled to have her back, especially after hearing why. They were old-school folks, believed in marriage, hard work, and not trying to screw over someone who fed you for 10 years. They didn't say, "I told you so," but they didn't coddle her either. I'd be lying if I said watching it all fall apart didn't give me a twisted sense of satisfaction. Not because I wanted to see her suffer, but because she chose to gamble our entire life on a con job. She picked poison over partnership, a paycheck over a person, and she lost. A week later, my lawyer finalized the filings. The divorce was officially uncontested. Everything had gone through just as I planned. No assets divided, no alimony granted. She walked away with exactly what she deserved, her clothes, her car, and that check I gave her out of pure courtesy. I kept everything else. The house, the business, the trucks, the retirement. I even got the dog. But the real win was peace. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking on eggshells in my own home. I played my music in the garage again. I made steak at 11 p.m. without judgment. I took solo hauls just to clear my head and blasted old country songs I hadn't listened to since Riley made fun of them. And the best part? No more lectures about how men weaponize silence, just because I didn't want to talk after a 12-hour drive. A few nights after the divorce went final, I got a call from Celeste. It was almost midnight. At first, I thought it was a butt dial. I let it go to voicemail. But then another call came, then a third. Finally, I picked up. What? There was a pause. Then she said, "You think you won?" I laughed. "No. I know I did. You humiliated her," she snapped. "She trusted you." Funny. That's exactly what I thought, right up until you started helping her plan a financial ambush. "You're a cold son of a bitch," she hissed. "I'm a prepared son of a bitch," I said. "And for the record, you're not even good at scheming. You overplayed your hand from day one." She hung up. That was the last I heard from her. Until the meltdown. Apparently, Riley walked in on her and Darren in a hotel room. She wasn't even snooping, just went to pick up a sweater Celeste said she accidentally left. And there they were, half naked. Darren eating chips off the minibar. Classy as ever. Riley lost it. They got into a screaming match in the hallway, which turned into a full-on public scene. Security was called. The hotel banned both of them. By Monday, the whole town knew. Riley deleted her Facebook. Celeste packed up and moved back to Dallas. Darren went back to pretending to be a born-again Christian online. And me? I grilled a steak, cracked open a beer, and watched reruns of King of the Hill on the couch. The house was quiet, clean, peaceful, exactly how I liked it. A month after everything settled, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name on the envelope. I sat on the porch with a cup of coffee and opened it. It was from Riley. 3 pages. Lined paper. Her handwriting shaky, like her hand didn't want to cooperate with what her heart was trying to say. The first few lines were classic Riley, soft, vague, layered with just enough regret to feel honest without fully owning anything. But about halfway through, her tone shifted. She wrote, "I don't know when it happened, but I stopped being your partner and started being jealous, maybe. I hated how stable you were, how nothing rattled you. I let Celeste twist that into something ugly. She fed my insecurity, and I drank it up like it was medicine. You didn't deserve what I did to you. Any of it." She said she felt empty now, that her parents were distant, that the town whispered when she walked into stores. She missed the smell of diesel on my jacket. She missed Sundays on the porch. She missed me. She didn't ask to come back. Not exactly. But she ended with, "If you ever feel like talking, you know where to find me." I folded the letter and tucked it into the back of my truck's glove compartment. I didn't hate her. I wasn't even angry anymore. But the version of her that sat beside me during the early years, The woman who'd rub my neck after long drives, who'd call me just to hear my voice, that version didn't exist anymore. She let it die the moment she chose her sister's bitterness over our bond. A week later, I heard she got a job at a local call center. Low pay, high stress. Nothing like the life we had. Celeste was long gone. Darren too. Riley was on her own now, starting from scratch. Some people said I should feel bad, that I should reach out, that she just got caught up in something. But no one gets caught up in betrayal by accident. It's a choice. A slow, deliberate drift toward a darker place, one word and excuse at a time. I chose to protect what I built. She chose to destroy what we had. I hadn't blocked her number, but I hadn't answered any of her texts either. I read them when they came as short little pulses of regret. Hope you're doing okay. Saw your truck on 75. Looks good. Do you ever think about us? I did. Sometimes. But not the way she meant. I thought about the early days. The good ones. The road trips. The night we parked under the stars in a Walmart lot and made jokes about growing old in a beat-up RV. I cherish those memories. I just didn't live in them. I lived in the now. And now? I was doing better than okay. The business was stable. My crew was tight. I'd hired another driver and started thinking about expanding routes. I was working smarter, not harder. My dad and I had coffee every Sunday again. I even took a weekend trip to Colorado, first vacation in years. The peace I had wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud, but it was earned. And it was mine. That winter, I saw Riley once. She was walking into a laundromat, hoodie pulled up, head down. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did and just couldn't meet my eyes. Either way, I drove past. No hate. No bitterness. Just a quiet reminder of the road not taken. Spring rolled in like a sigh of relief. I took a long-haul job out west, solo. No deadlines, just me and the road. I slept in the cab, ate at mom-and-pop diners, listened to old tapes my dad gave me. Every mile felt like rinsing off the last traces of the storm Riley and Celeste had dragged through my life. By the time I got back, the house felt different. It wasn't just emptier. It was lighter. Like all the noise had been vacuumed out. I started fixing things I'd been putting off for years, the porch light, the garage latch, even that crooked picture frame in the hallway Riley always said she'd get around to. I rebuilt not out of anger, but because I finally had the mental space to care again. One Sunday morning, while sipping black coffee on the porch, my dad pulled up. He stepped out of his truck holding a small cardboard box. Just gave me a look and said, "You'll want to see this." Inside the box were old documents, some receipts, and a flash drive. "Found it in your mom's stuff," he said. "From back when we were setting up your trust. Thought you might want the originals." I nodded and thanked him. We sat on the porch for a while, not saying much. Just watching the trees sway, listening to the birds. After a long pause, he said, "She didn't beat you, you know." "I know," I said. "You played it right. Most men wouldn't have. They'd have yelled, threatened, burned the whole thing down in a fit of pride. But you kept your head. That's not just smart. That's strength." I didn't know how to respond to that, so I just nodded again. But it hit me. He was right. When someone tries to rob you emotionally, when they twist love into leverage, the real victory isn't just keeping your stuff. It's keeping yourself, your dignity, your calm, your future. A few weeks later, I got one final message from Riley. It was a voice memo. I almost didn't listen to it. But curiosity got the better of me. She sounded tired, worn down. "I know you'll never forgive me, and I'm not asking you to, but I wanted to say thank you for protecting what you built, for not sinking to our level. Celeste, she used me. I see that now. And I let her. I destroyed the one good thing I had, and I own that. I hope someday you're happy. Truly." I deleted the message. Not out of anger. Just closure. Riley was the kind of woman who thought loyalty was owed only when life was easy. But life isn't easy. Not for people like me. It's long hours, heavy miles, and quiet sacrifices nobody claps for. You build something brick by brick and pray the person beside you is laying mortar too, not waiting to tear it down and call it liberation. In the end, I didn't lose a wife. I lost a liability. And what I kept was everything. My business. My peace. My damn soul. Some lessons hit like a slap. Others arrive like a slow sunrise. Either way, I'm driving forward. Eyes open. Hands steady. Not looking back.